cake.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Sanctuary. We're glad that our chairs are filling up. Glad you're with us this morning as we worship the Lord. Got a number of songs to play as we go through, so sit back, enjoy us. Enjoy some of these songs. I will guarantee you probably do not know. So if you just want to listen and hum along, that's okay. No problem.
He is risen from the dead, and he is Lord. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. He is Lord. He is Lord. He is risen from the dead, and he is Lord. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Okay. Chris is the... Oh. Okay. Well, we're... Go flow.
Is the mic on there?
Yeah, this mic's on. We need it for the last song, but
Okay.
I wasn't using it for the rest of them. For those of you who may be new to City Sanctuary or otherwise, to this group, Larry is the newcomer. You've been playing with us for how long now? No? I've known Larry since high school, but he's been playing with Dan and I for 5, 6 years, 8 years, could be. Dan and I have been fighting the six strings and having fun for close to 25 years. A lot of songs have been done over the years, different styles, and today we're going to do a lot of different styles. So sit back and enjoy and worship with us.
We are standing on holy ground, and I know that there are angels all around. Let us praise Jesus now. We are standing in his presence on holy ground. are standing on holy ground, and I know that there are angels all around. Let us praise Jesus now. We are standing in His presence on holy ground.
Over the years, I've been accused of many things when it comes to music up in front. But the one thing that you've probably noticed that whenever I'm leading out in the band is there's very few songs that are repetitious as far as style. I tend to move around a lot. I like the diversity.
He's restless.
Restless. It challenges me. But also, I figure that some people like certain styles. Some people maybe don't like that style. So maybe during the song service, you'll find at least one or two that really mesh with you, that bring you closer to the Lord, that let you worship together.
Oh no, we have an instrument change now, ladies and gentlemen.
I decided that this Sabbath would be a good time to go back in my closet and start digging out a lot of instruments that I've collected over the years. I hate to admit it, but this is just a small portion of them. So if I'm going through some guitar changes, I apologize, but we're going to have fun today. By the way, as we get started here, okay, we start out really traditional, which is fine. But you know, there are some people in this church that can do Christmas music all year round. Don't have a problem with it. There are some that firmly believe that anything on Christmas that comes before Thanksgiving is definitely verboten. We don't do it before Christmas, before Thanksgiving. And those who do, don't raise your hands. We don't make you publicly humiliated. So we're going to move into the Christmas season. We're going to have some fun with some Christmas songs. So join with us.
Well, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Down in a lonely manger, the humble Christ was born.
Jesus Christ is born.
While shepherds kept watching o'er silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light.
Go tell it on the Jesus Christ is born, that Jesus Christ is born. That sounded nice, Terry. It's kind of nice to have that sound.
I remember when we came back from Hawaii, and those who think back of many times that I played, quite often you've seen me put a bar up on my guitar, way high up here, and probably don't know why, but I'm playing up in the ukulele mandolin range to give a different sound to the thing so that Dan and I aren't duplicating so much. And we happened to walk into a store, and they had some guitars, and they had ukuleles everywhere. Of course, Hawaii is known for that. And we were looking at them, and my wife said, well, Terry, why don't you play ukulele? And I says, well, I don't know the chords. And the guy at the shop looked at me, and he says, play the guitar? And I says, yeah. He says, 5th fret. I looked at him. He says, 5th fret. And all of a sudden it dawned on me. Because quite often I would capo up to the 5th fret, and I would play in a, quote, different key, but it actually put it in the key that we were singing in. And I picked up the ukulele and said, wow, we're going to have fun. Neil say I walked out with one, and a lot of places let you bring wine home from France or other places from other countries. Well, I tell you, it's amazing how many planes come back from Hawaii filled with ukuleles. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ, our Savior, was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we are gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. In Bethlehem, in Israel, this blessed babe was born and laid within a manger,
upon this blessed morn, that which his mother Mary did nothing take in scorn.
Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
From God our Heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same, that which in Bethlehem was born, the Son of God by name.
Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
Back in 2007, just about the time that Dan was getting the vision to start City Sanctuary, out at Hoodview, they decided to have a guitar class, and Dan asked me to sit in on it. Dan and I have been getting together and playing in his office quite often. And he challenged everybody. He said, I want you guys to write a Christmas song. And over the years, I've had a few Christmas songs we've done. And so I sat there and I took on a project that is technically probably one of the hardest songs that I ever wrote. We did it that Christmas, and in January, Dan started City Sanctuary. Over the years, we've done it a few more times, but I haven't done it very often, so if I mess a chord up here or there, bear with me. This guy was crazy.
It's a really cool song.
Each day I study words of prophets, mysteries and scrolls. At night I gaze into the sky, the future is foretold. The search for king and kingdom, of goodness and light. Which prophet can foretell it? I've got to get it right. Follow, follow, follow the star. Follow, follow, follow the star. With desert sands, winds that blow, the trails long and dry. The words of prophets ring my brain, the days just seem to fly. A new king is born here, these rulers want to know. Each night the star keeps moving, I really have to go. Follow, follow, follow the star. Follow, follow, follow the star. It stopped one night, a town nearby, Bethlehem, the name. Beneath the star, a stable stood. I gazed in wonder. Here inside I lay, a newborn babe, the animals close around. A glory shone upon his face, the promised king I've found. As I knelt to worship him with gifts and words of praise, I knew my journey ended, a king for all my days. I'll follow, follow, follow that star. Follow, follow, follow that star.
All right, man. Sing with us.
Come, they told me, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. A newborn king will be, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Our finest gifts to bring, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. To lay before the king, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum, ra-pa-pum-pum, ra-pa-pum-pum. So to honor him, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum, when we come. Little baby, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. I am a poor boy too, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. I have no gifts to bring, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Let's beg together, King, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Shall I play for you, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum, on my drum? Mary nodded, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. The ox and lamb kept time, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. I played my drum for him, pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. I played my best for him, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. Then he smiled at me, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, me and my drum, me and my drum. Yes, I'm actually going to use all the guitars. Yep. Stacy, my daughter, was part of our family, obviously, when we started City Sanctuary. Over the years, it started back in Hoodview, that
At Christmas time, we would take songs that were traditional songs and put them to untraditional music. And that carried over into a lot of other ones. When Stacy went to college, one semester she sang in a jazz ensemble and got to enjoy that. And sometime, well, in fact, this was just about the time City Sanctuary started. This came out.
Away in a manger, there's no crib for a bed. The little Lord Jesus lay down his sweet head. The stars in the sky, they looked down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. Little Lord Jesus, no crib for a bed. Away in that manger, lay down his sweet head. The cattle are lowing when that poor baby wakes, but little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes. I love thee, Lord Jesus, look down from the sky and stay by my cradle till morning is nigh. Little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes, as the cattle are lowing when that poor baby wakes. Be near me, Lord Jesus, I ask thee to stay close by me forever. Love me, I pray. Bless all the dear children in thy tender care, and take us to heaven to live with thee there. Be near me, Lord Jesus. Love me, I pray. Close by me forever. Now I ask thee to stay close by me forever. Now I ask thee to stay close by me forever. Now I ask thee to stay. Ooh.
Direct your attention to the screen. We have a special announcement for you. You nailed it. You nailed it.
Hey Kimberland, it's Erin. We value the spirit-filled journey that we've had thus far as City Sanctuary. The bravery it took to step out, start something new, the new connections that have been made, the adventures, the places the Lord has taken us to and through. Our members can easily share countless stories about how they've been uniquely impacted by our City Sanctuary community. What a rich and beautiful journey it has been. Although the City Sanctuary chapter is coming to a close, we celebrate those memories that we will hold close in our hearts. We also recognize that the story has the opportunity to develop into something new and special, and we are excited to take the next faith-led steps forward to see where God will take this precious group and how he will grow and expand us for his glory. The story has yet to be written, and we invite you to help us write the next chapters. Join us as we continue to hold services and gather during this transitional time. We're excited to have the opportunity to re-envision what comes next in our community's journey, and would love for you to join us in that process. If you're local, please join us weekly in the gym at the Healing Hope Church, or you can follow us online. We'll be streaming from a new YouTube channel. So look for us at the YouTubes at, literally the at symbol, Project Phoenix Stream. We'll see you there. Hi. Oh, there they are. I just would like to point out it's really hard to do that unpracticed in the air. Try it. Anyway, it's a very important symbol because that is part of our name on the channel. So we will be here next week and the week after, and we're going to develop into something, and we're going to see what that journey turns into. Shouldn't have hugged Dan on the way up. That was a bad move.
And you're all invited.
You're all invited. It's going to be a fun ride. So come. We're going to have some great music. Sir Kevin and his friends, he's sitting in the back there talking. That was perfect timing. Kevin's going to lead some festive tunes for us. It's kind of is it a tease of what's happening Saturday night? No. Sneak? Yeah, some. So he has a concert next Saturday night at 7? No. 6?
No, it's like the beginning of a great date night. You go 5, 6. It's kind of the appetizer, and then you take the person of choice out there.
So at 6 o'clock at the Village Ballroom. 5 o'clock. You said 6. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. I have no notes, and I'm teary, and I'm 39 weeks pregnant. 5 o'clock, the Village Ballroom. Kevin has a concert. There's notes. But that crew will be here in the morning to lead us in worship as kind of our first tiptoe into what Project Phoenix is going to be. And we welcome you to just join us on what that adventure is going to look like as we create it. You want to add anything, Christina?
Yeah. Talk to us after if you're interested, if you want to hear more of our thoughts about it. This is new. We're new to this process, and we're trying to figure it out, what it's going to look forward, what it's going to look like going forward. And this is powerful. Just seeing everyone that's here today. This is the power of community. It's bigger than any of us. It took a lot of bravery to start this process. Those that were at the very beginning of the helm and started something new, and we really want to recognize and celebrate that, what Pastor Dan started today, and the people that were on board for that. And so you've been a trendsetter, Dan, trendsetter. So, we want to take that legacy, and we have some thoughts about the power of art, the power of community, just creating space where people can share. And anyway, it's to be developed.
Who do they talk to?
So you can talk to Aaron, you can talk to myself, you can talk to Ben, to Chris. We have other people that are supporting us. Anyway.
But we'll be here next Sabbath, 10:30,
Yep.
for sure coffee and something to munch on, 11:15 for worship.
Good music.
Yep.
Yeah, we're just going to see where the Spirit leads.
Oh, and there's a sign-up sheet. There's lots of ways you can find us, but there's a paper sign-up sheet if you'd like to add your name to that to keep in touch with us. We have the new YouTube channel. There are links to social media platforms that are in existence but need to be, they're on there though. So give us a like and a follow. But there's all sorts of ways to follow and keep up with us. But the good old paper one, I will have your phone number if you choose to give it to me so I can find you. But thank you, everyone. We love you. And we're glad you're all here today. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Terry. I'm like scanning. Chris is telling me it's time to leave, so bye.
That was amazing, Aaron. Baby's due. Let's give her a hand. The baby's coming. It's going to be wonderful. She's going to be a princess, a little girl. So it could happen any minute. So really glad you were able to make it to church. There will be something here next week. For those of you who want to come, there will be a worship service here. So keep that in mind if you're wondering what happens after this Sabbath, okay? Now, City Sanctuary has been an amazing ride. It's really been something that took on a life of its own. I had the initial thoughts about it, but it became something much, much bigger, much more complex. Let's talk about politics. In our church, or in our group, in City Sanctuary, we had the extremes of politics, and they cohabitated together, side by side, worshiping God. I think we ought to give ourselves a hand for that, because you don't see that in churches. You don't see that anywhere. I was every year invited to the gay parades. I was always invited to the conservative rallies and everything in between. And I'm telling you, there was acceptance and respect in our church for the diversity of thought, feelings, lifestyle, and politics. We also had such diversity in our music. Terry and I were just one piece of that. We had so many great bands, so much good times, and always something different and diverse. We were a diverse community. We had an ability, and I think God gave it to us, to accept each other. Accepting one another over time. Not just initially when it's easy, but accepting each other over time. Week after week, month after month, year after year after year. Making accommodations, being tolerant, being accepting, being encouraging, being compassionate. They were all hallmarks of City Sanctuary. Today I want to open up the opportunity for some of you to share. If something is on your heart, you want to talk about City Sanctuary, come before God's people and share a little bit. I have crazy, crazy stories. I have a list of over 100 names. 100 names of people that we had encounters with over the years, over at the Medallion. Each one of those names had a story. Many of them had many stories. One of the men that had stories that we got to know was Reverend Steve. Reverend Steve has been a blessing. He's been with us for 13, 14 years. Come on up, Steve. Let's give him a hand. You got it? Okay. Okay.
It's been a really interesting journey these last 13 years. I remember 13 years ago, a ragtag group of people showed up at the Medallion, and they were offering to us a corn feed. And during this corn feed, they were also playing instruments and singing. Boy, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, they introduced themselves to us, let us know that they had taken over, adopt a high-rise from Lift Urban Portland at that time, now Lift Portland, I guess it's called now, where they adopt the buildings to help people in housing and such to reach more goals, to have connections with others. Well, they decided to adopt us, and so over that time, they not only supported us at the Medallion, they reached out to us. They took us to grocery stores. They provided us with parties, with huge block parties, and involved many organizations to help us grow and expand our acceptance into the community. But personally, For these 13 years, I have experienced a number of other issues, everything from mental to physical health to grieving and celebration. And every day since day one, people like Tom White, Pastor Dan, Terry and Bunny Boyd, and so many others of you, Shane, Linda, your husband Brad, all of you have stepped up and made us feel like family. You've made me feel like part of the family. But the most important thing was, they didn't have my back. They stood behind me, in front of me, and beside me throughout my whole journey. And I just want to say a special from my heart thank you to all of you for all that you've done. And I invite anybody else to come up and share whatever you may have to say about this wonderful group of people. Thank you.
Steve taught us about homelessness. People of the Streets ministry, that was a conviction of his, and he had been doing it for years. We went downtown and we knew nothing about homelessness. We knew nothing about low-income realities. And Steve, we met you, and 13 years ago we started to learn a lot about that life and what they go through. And thank you for all you taught us and for the great food through the years. Someone else want to come up? Come on up.
Come on, it ain't that hard.
Come on up. We have people, strong opinions in this place. Come on up.
Did that mean me? Yeah, no. I'll take it for what it is. You're right, I do. I wanted to follow up on what Steve said and what Dan said about the diversity, because being part of this group for me was the privilege of meeting people I would never, ever have crossed paths with, because this group didn't look anything like the churches I had come from, and I met the most interesting people, and many of those were from the Medallion and the interactions we had there. And I was thinking this morning about 3 people in particular, and one was, if you've been around a while, you might remember Grandma Shirley. And Grandma Shirley sat at a back table. She was from the Medallion. She was of the Lakota tribe, and she loved her heritage as a Native American, but she also loved us. And it didn't matter what our background was, we were going to get a hug from Grandma Shirley. And she was a wonderful part of our community. And she brought her little sister, Kathy. And Kathy was 65. I don't know, she was older, but she had the mentality of about a 3-year-old. So she was severely handicapped. She couldn't speak well. She was just, I don't know what her package of conditions was, but Kathy was delighted to come to City Sanctuary every week. She'd get her cup of cocoa and she would sit with Grandma Shirley at the back table, and she would usually bring her baby doll. And she would make sure every week that I could greet her baby doll and tell her her baby doll looked nice. And she just loved, sometimes she would go to the children's classes and she would make the craft with the kids. She loved doing crafts with Lisa and with Joanna, and they would do crafts together. And one day, I knew that I'd been accepted when she gave me a piece of paper. And it's a scribble picture, and in the background, it's letter K's. And Shirley said, she wanted to give you a picture and she signed her name. And all she could have were these K's, and then over here is a T, and at the end is an H, and then a Y. So it's hard to read, but it's there, and it says Kathy. And I've carried it in my Bible since then. It was a special gift from Kathy, and she worked so hard on that scribble picture for me. And the other story, the third person I can't think about City Sanctuary without thinking of, was Eric. And if you've been around a while, you remember Eric. He was homeless, and he came off the streets, and he had a battered straw hat with holes in it, and he would sit in the back corner at a table, and he'd get his coffee, And sometimes he would talk to the voices that only he could hear. And it depended on, had he taken his medications that week or that day? We don't know. But some people became very involved in helping him stay safe. He wanted to live on the streets. He was comfortable there. Some of our members was able to rent an apartment for him. He may or may not have slept in the apartment. It didn't really matter. But he liked to come to game night. And what we learned was Eric was highly educated. He had master's degrees, maybe a doctorate too, I'm not sure, in Latin and Greek literature. He was a brilliant man. And when he was lucid, he was killer at Scrabble. Killer. He knew words that we'd never heard of. And my son was in, I think, a freshman year of high school that time. He came to a game night. He'd never played Scrabble. He had learning disabilities. Scrabble was not his thing. But he sat down with Eric and Lori Leno, and the four of us together played Scrabble. You don't want to play with Eric against you. He's going to win. But Chris would look at his little tiles, and he said, I don't have anything. And Eric would look over and say, do you mind if I help you? Can I just help you with that? And he'd look over at Christopher's tiles, and he'd say, if you rearrange this one and that one, I think you've got a word or two in there. Like, So he taught Christopher how to play Scrabble. And I would never imagine that I could be part of a community where a homeless man with schizophrenia could teach my teenage son how to play a game and to watch them sit there and have a conversation and to know that this isn't going to happen in any other group. And I'm just so grateful to City Sanctuary for putting me in a position where I can cross paths with these fabulous personalities. Every one of them is a God gift. Thank you for letting me be part of this.
Yeah, I can't think of Eric without thinking of Greg Leno. Greg took him in. Greg and Lori. It was just an amazing, amazing journey. So many fascinating people we met. I mean, people who really taught us a lot about ourselves, quite frankly. Who would like to come up? Tom and Terry, just come up, and why don't we just form a line if we need to.
I'll follow Patty because I actually learned a lot from Patty. Early on with the medallion, with some of our outreach there, many may remember several years ago, Portland actually had a pretty severe outbreak of bed bugs. And the medallion had their share of them. And people would need help preparing their apartments to be treated for bed bugs. Now, I'll be honest, I was not really interested in being involved with that process. That was real low on things that I wanted to do. I was real good with helping people move. I had a truck, I had a trailer. At that time, I actually had a back that was fairly decent. And I was willing to help people move, but when it was time to clean and prepare for bed bugs, that was a little more difficult for me. I followed Patty because Patty was the first that I know of who was brave enough to help a lady prepare for treatment for bed bugs. And basically what we'd have to do is we'd help people do their laundry. And it's really more of getting things in the dryer, getting things in heat. It's the heat that would kill the bed bugs or the eggs. And so we'd help people do their laundry, get everything packaged up into plastic bins and plastic bags. Then their apartments could be treated. And so I remember talking to Patty after her first experience, seeing a few bed bugs in the process of helping. And it was like, okay, if Patty can do this, I guess I can do this. She shamed me into it. And, we had the experience of helping different people. And looking back, it was a great experience for me. It was a good learning experience for me. I do have to share one story, though, in regards to bed bugs. It involved Pastor Dan and myself. Dan and I, we did a lot of moving for people, and there was one lady who was needing to move out of her apartment to another apartment because the infestation was so severe, they needed to really clear out that apartment to treat it. And so we had been moving everything from one apartment to another. Everything had been going well, hadn't seen anything. I was feeling comfortable, more comfortable, I guess. And then we got to the point where we needed to move the bed. Dan and I, it was a double bed, we lift the mattress off, set it up. It's like, doesn't look bad. There really wasn't any evidence of bed bugs with that mattress. Okay, we pick up the mattress and we haul it outside. We go back in, we grab the box spring. We flip the box spring up, drop it on the floor. I have one end, Dan has the other. And Dan's walking backwards, fortunately. What I saw started out a black spot about this big around that grew to about this big around. Now, I had seen bed bugs 1, 2, 3 at a time maybe. This was a swarm of bed bugs. And it was moving toward Dan. What I recall is Dan's eyes getting about this big around as this swarm of bed bugs is working its way toward him. And it was at that point, it was like, Dan, you know what? I think we just need to set this one down. I think this one stays with the apartment. And we'll bring the mattress back too, which is what we had to do. Well, fortunately, because of our partnerships with PAX, we were able to contact the good folks at PAX. We were able to get another bed, and we were able to run up there, pick that up, and bring it back that same day. So we were able to set up a bed in her new apartment that did not have an infestation of bed bugs in it. But, looking back, those are just some of the war stories that we've had. And we can laugh at them now. It wasn't quite as funny at the moment. But there were good learning experiences. They were opportunities where we could interact with people and actually meet a physical need. And I think, as our Sabbath school lesson was pointing out today, this was an opportunity like Christ used, where he could help people who were in need. And City Sanctuary provided a platform for so many of us here today to act as the hands of Christ, helping people with need. And I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I feel kind of humbled to follow Patty and Tom on that. The experiences that they had working at the Medallion and other people with the cleaning the apartments and those kinds of things were things that I aspired to, but working full-time in the hospital, they usually did during the weekdays, and I was usually on service at the hospital, so those I fortunately or unfortunately didn't take part of very often. When Steve was talking about the first time that he saw us, Dan, I had to laugh because I do remember we had sat down and we had been assigned the Medallion as our low-income, high-rise grouping to begin to work in downtown Portland. And we were talking about, well, what are we going to do? And we finally said, well, most of us that grew up around the Midwest, good old-fashioned corn feeds and potlucks and things like that were something we were used to, so let's do that. So we got things together and we figured out the rules of what we could and couldn't do as far as a group. And we did, and we decided, Dan and I had been playing so much, we decided, well, we're going to do a little music. So we pulled a car up, and by the entrance, everybody who's been around Medallion knows where I'm talking about, and we set up a couple stools and some music, and we weren't too loud, but we started playing some bluegrass and some folk music and things like that. And people were coming out from Medallion, and they were looking at this group like, who in the world are these people? And pretty soon they started coming around. They ate some food with us, some baked beans and potato salad and corn, etc. And the fellowship started from there, and as it grew, with the monthly birthdays and on. I'm reminded, in fact, Buddy and I talked about it years and years ago. When I was in college, I knew absolutely nothing about football. When I started college as a freshman, I didn't. But I went to school in Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, anybody who knows football teams, the Nebraska Cornhuskers years ago was at the top of the heap, and it was a major player. And when you go to that city, you either learn to like football or you get out of town. Because school existed about one day a week when you actually did something, which was Wednesdays. Because Monday and Tuesday, you talked about the game that just ended and all the things that took place. And Thursday and Friday, you talked about what was coming up, who we were playing, how we were playing, etc. And that town absolutely breathed football during the season. And I reminded, after we were at the Medallion and started working on fellowship and our ministry there, and people were becoming more involved, that my life began to look like that football times. On Monday and Tuesday, Buddy and I talked about what happened last Sabbath, who we saw, what took place, what was going on. And Thursday and Friday was like, okay, what's going to happen this Sabbath? Who's going to show up at the door? Who's going to be there for the fellowship dinners? Who's going to be there that we can interact with? What's the Lord going to bring through the doors that we get to do? And remind me so much of that reflection for 2 days and anticipation for 2 days as to what is happening with City Sanctuary and the blessings that it did. It was amazing the things that happened. Stories could go on and on and on, and you'll hear more, and most of them I don't want to bore you with, but there's many, many wonderful times that I've had at City Sanctuary, and I know as Project Phoenix gets off, where they're going to go and how they're going to do is going to write another chapter somewhere in the Lord's book, and we'll all be blessed because of it.
I thought you were going to tell us, Terry, about when we did All My Exes Live in Texas. And that great Adventist classic, Help Me Make It Through the Night. Yeah. You know, we did Lowrider, Don't Fear the Reaper. I mean, we did some amazing, we taught ourselves how to play this kind of music so we could be hopefully relevant. Shane, come on up.
So I could tell some stories about moving and corn feeds and all those things because I've been involved in those and they're great. I was always followed along with Tom or with Dan, never really led out much, occasionally did a few talks. But here, the story I want to tell you is a little more personal. So when City Sanctuary was being founded, I was a homeless guy. I had a roof over my head, but I didn't have a church family. I had not been probably to a church that I considered a family for 5 or 6 years. And I was engaged to be married, and Pastor Dan had been my pastor a long time before, and we had had a pastor that was going to do our wedding, and for some variety of things, maybe some doctrinal issues we never did figure out, all of a sudden nobody in the pastoral staff was able to marry my wife and I, and it was 30 days before the wedding was. And so, kind of as a last case scenario, I said to my wife, you know, my pastor from years back, they're meeting at Terry and Bunny's house this Sabbath. Let's just go and chat with them. And the big issue that had been with the last pastor was the date. Nobody could get the date for it. You know, we had August 3rd, we had a church, we had everything, but nobody could come and do the service. And so we came and we sat down, and right before the service, and we were talking to Pastor Dan, and two things amazing happened. The first thing is Pastor Dan met my fiance, gave her a big hug, showed her a tremendous amount of love and acceptance. And then he said, we talked for about 5 or 6 minutes, told him the story. He says, look, he said, no matter when it is, I'll be there. No matter when it is, I'll be there. And my fiance was so moved by the love and the fact that he was going to clear his calendar for us. And that was, and by the way, you missed a great wedding if you weren't there, because he really blessed us and allowed us to bless 105 people in a church that only held 85 people. So it was really, really a fun time, a good time, and that experience changed my wife's journey. And even to this day, she remembers that moment where she was loved without condition. And so I was a homeless guy, and because I didn't have a church family, and Pastor Dan and all of you have really, even Dawn, all of you have created a family for me. And so I would love to say all the good things I've done, because Tom's done great things and Dan's done great things, but what I'm saying is the last 15 years, which is more than 25% of my life, more than 25%, which is, I'm an old guy, that's a lot of time. This has been a home for me, and that has made all the difference.
Bunny would like to share something. She's sitting over here, and we can put that mic on, and Bunny, go for it.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm having a bad back day, so I'm going to stay sitting in my chair. But I want to say how much everybody at City Sanctuary has touched my life, because they just became my bigger family. And I don't have any grandkids, but I tend to accumulate them when I'm here. So that's always nice. But does anybody here want to take a guess at what I was first famous for at City Sanctuary? Food. Well, you can tell I like food just by looking at me. But we started out having breakfast down when we were very first downtown, and we just invited whoever was around to come, and we'd take the people off the streets and we'd feed them, because that's what Jesus did. He got them together and he fed them. So that's what we did, and I've done it a long time, and I have to tell you, I hope that I may have touched somebody's heart, but I will tell you that all of those people that I served and that came and were with us and that loved me touched me so strongly that I will never be the same. So I thank City Sanctuary and this outreach for making me the person that I am. So I will miss you all.
Yeah, Bunny would always be at the door greeting people, hospitality, food, created that atmosphere. It was one of the big things we did. Someone else. Come on, Milo. Come on up.
Straight face while I'm doing this, because I started to well up a little bit. I said a little bit about this in Bible study earlier, that I just, before City Sanctuary, early on in my life, I just got to a point where I tried to keep everybody at a distance. I didn't want to be emotionally attached to anybody, because it seemed like everything that I got emotionally attached to would disappear. And my first experiences with church and Adventism, either or, was, like I was a statistic. I was a misfit, and I didn't really fit in, but I was welcome to sit down, and I got here and came to this church, City Sanctuary at 26th and Thurman. I came in with JJ. I don't hardly see JJ around anymore, but I just kind of got magnetized to it, because it was this group of real people that genuinely cared about where I was and what I was doing, and how I felt. And I feel the same way about each and every one of you. I love you. I don't think I could have a better family than you guys.
Linda, can you come up? Thank you, Milo. That was powerful.
Yeah. Well, City Sanctuary has been a kind of a trip for us. Initially, we started with it because we'd been going to a big non-denominational church in Vancouver, and I felt the need for some Adventist contact and for a smaller group. And the daughter of a friend of mine told me about City Sanctuary, so we ended up going over there when you were on Thurman and kind of followed through. But it's amazing because it's given an outlet for Don for his different way of doing things. And, you know, and I followed along, and it's been an interesting trip. I mean, I remember Don taking a cup of coffee on Irving Street out to the kid that slept in the doorway of the chiropractic clinic. And then was another one that he took coffee to a few times was Kyle, and a lot of you probably remember Kyle, but Don found him on the street, and it kind of scared me at first because Don was interacting with him, but we went out a couple times at midnight and picked him up from the emergency room and took him to where he was going, and then he wanted Don's phone number, and I'm thinking, yeah, well, he gave him the phone number because his wife was in prison, and he was afraid she would get out of prison and not be able to find him. And so Don's phone number went to prison, so when she got out of prison, Sandra gave Don a call, and they connected him up with Kyle. And it was, a lot of you probably know the story. I mean, Kyle ended up coming, they ended up both getting baptized, getting married. It was a beautiful story, and it was interesting. Don and I started having some Bible studies in the midweek, and one of the people that came was Jody, and he lived on the street, often on the sidewalk across from City Sanctuary, but he routinely showed up at our midweek Bible study. Lisa probably remembers Jody too, yeah. Often, dirty, smelly, whatever. Several times Don and I took him for a hamburger after Bible study. Sometimes he would come in and sit next to me in church, and he didn't smell so good, but he would sit there through church with me, and I'd slip him $1 or $2 so he could get a hamburger after church. A couple times, eventually he actually broke down and told us the sad story of his life growing up with a mom who was a prostitute. It was amazing, but that little connection, I'll never forget Jody. I don't know what happened to him it was several months before City Sanctuary moved that I never saw him again. I suspect he died on the street, but it was a contact that we had that was different but very precious.
Yeah, Jody was something else. He really was. Someone else. Come on up, Lisa.
Hi there. So, unlike Shane, I would like to tell you some of my boring stories. Bore you with my stories. So, when I came to City Sanctuary, probably my first or my second visit, I was talking to Pastor Dan and kind of sharing a little bit about my past, the other churches that I'd been to, and he said, well, welcome home. And I have to tell you, he had me at welcome home because I've been coming ever since. So those are very powerful words. I don't know if you realize that. And there's so many memories that have been coming back to me, but one of the memories I was thinking about was a class that I led. It was a Sabbath school class for adults. And most of the people that came were from the Battalion. And it was interesting because I would prepare, as you know, I plan. I came together with a really good lesson outline, and there was just no way we were going to get through it because as we're talking, there was like a lot of cross-talking, over-talking, talking over somebody else. I would say, okay, this is how we're going to do it, and I'd kind of lay out the process. But inevitably, we never would get through a class in a cohesive way because there was just all this, well, you know what, my daughter called me today, and as I were saying that, and this was Grandma Shirley, sometimes she would just start talking about things going on in her life, had nothing to do with the lesson, and then somebody else would talk about something that's going on in their life, had nothing to do with the lesson. So I just kind of threw it out and said, okay, let's just talk. How's it going? And those are some of the best classes that we had. And the other thing, talking about, what this community has meant to me, I've also experienced Dan's and Lisa's, just their acceptance, with our son who, as a teenager, is really struggling to find himself. And he really got into music. And he invited one day Pastor Dan to come to one of his concerts. I think it was at the Hawthorne in Portland. And I'm not sure if Pastor Dan knew what he was getting into, but the music there that he played was, I don't know, would you call it screamo? Or something really, really metal, heavy metal. And anyway, and they did this mash posh or something. What do they call it? Mosh posh, yeah. And yes. And I had never seen it before, but I was there, and anyway, definitely wanted to get out of the way. And Pastor Dan was over against the wall, kind of leaning like this up against the wall. And then get to church, I think it was the next weekend, and he said, yeah, he said, I went to this concert with Aaron Blake, and he said something to the fact that I felt like I'd been accosted. And I just thought, how great, even though he's a pastor and it's more of a conservative church, he still was open to coming and supporting our son, and that was huge support to Brad and myself. So anyway, lots of wonderful stories, but thank you very much for that. Really have been blessed and appreciate how inclusive this church has been. So.
Yeah, we've done heavy metal and I've been in quite a few bars in Portland because that's where our kids were playing. So you go where your children are. Yes, come on up, Janessa.
So I think probably everyone in the world has had the experience where you have a shirt that you just love and you want to wear it all the time, and then something happens in the laundry and it just doesn't fit right anymore. And you can't bear to get rid of it because it's so meaningful to you in some way, but you're just not comfortable in it anymore. And for a long time, that's how I felt about the Adventist church. I grew up in a wonderful family and in great churches. I went to Adventist schools. I love the church. I strongly believe in everything that it stands for, but sometimes the church community just felt a little restrictive to me. It just didn't fit right anymore. When I went off to college, I made a very conscious decision to not go to an Adventist college. I needed something different. I needed something else. And in the process, I found a lot of things that were a part of me that weren't something I felt comfortable with from an Adventist culture perspective. And I never really felt comfortable again. Till this church. I heard a phrase the other day, and it really personifies this church for me. And that's, love them where they are. It wasn't just about reaching out to the community or doing breakfasts, because it wasn't just about the people that wouldn't otherwise be in the church. It was about loving everyone for whoever they are, for whatever they believe, for whoever they want to be. Their family, period. That's it. And I haven't been here a lot. I haven't been sitting in here in church services a lot. But just the fact that I know that this group is here, and I know that I can walk through the doors at any point with or without the rest of my family and be a part of the family has made a huge difference to me. So thank you to everyone who's made that the way that this church is, because it means more to people than you might ever know. Thank you.
One more. Someone? Come on up, Carrie. Good to see you, Carrie.
Okay. Similar to Janessa, I was pretty much to the point of not going to church. The Adventist church was, like Janessa said, felt very restrictive. Bunny and Terry invited my whole family. I think it was the last Sabbath before they went downtown to a backyard picnic and church service. And that was it. Took one service, and I was with the group that first Sabbath downtown. Fairly often I was there for when we met in the garage turned church to when we got to our first place that we could actually do some remodeling. Remember the sledgehammer and knocking walls down? Recent years, yes. Between COVID, life, job changes, things, and haven't been able to get out here or even to some of the locations before often, but always knew that the church was here, and online services and stuff. The one thing I still think between the fellowship is that Pastor Dan got me out of my shell for a lot of things. Between Thanksgiving, where we could get up in front and share, and also Christmas services, evening even, where they would have different, sharing groups at night, Saturday night, for people to share their talents and stuff. So I do have one of my last recent poems, kind of to share one last time. And this is what Pastor Dan encouraged that first time we started with Thanksgiving. And yes, I have glasses now. We all age as we have been here. Who sees the shadows? Who hears the bitter? Who sees the frail? Who hears and sees the forgotten? Who sees the shadows, the memories long past, the tears left by time? Who hears the bitter, the voice lost, the fight against the dark? Who sees and hears the forgotten, the invisible life, the soundless cries? Christ sees. He sees the shadows, the memories, the tears of past and present. He hears the cries of the bitter and lost, the voice crying in the dark. He sees and hears all, brings light to the shadows, a voice to the soundless cries, dries the tears and comforts the soul. Thank you.
Come on up, Andrea.
Well, I am a more recent addition to this family. I came here a few years ago only, but I love this community a lot, and I connect with a lot of the things that people have said, and the thing I have to say connects with that as well, because what sticks out to me the most about this community, what drew me here and what has kept me here is its love. The love of this community and how this church and this group lives out its values. It shows its love. It shows God's love to everyone, you know? From the very first day that I walked into City Sanctuary, actually from even before that, the way that I found out about City Sanctuary was because someone who had never been there recommended it to me. They had heard by word of mouth that this was a place that was, accepting and supportive and non-judgmental, but also still Adventist, because that's important to me. And so I found out about this place because it was known for its love and for the way that it treated people. That's how I found this place first. So yeah, before I even stepped foot here, that's what I knew it by. And then when I did come here, seeing children running around during church, seeing people from all walks of life sitting in the chairs, and no one is whispering. No one is saying, oh, that person's wearing a necklace. Oh, that woman's wearing trousers. Oh, how scandalous, and going to potlucks and someone brings pork rinds and you set them out. You're not like, oh, how dare you? Oh, I need to now lecture you and make you feel rejected. No, don't want to eat them, don't have to eat them. Someone wanted to contribute and be a part of our community, and it's all those little things, and it's all the big things. It's everything that this community does that speaks to its love. So yeah, thank you for all of your love.
Is there one more? Kurt, come up. It's good to see you.
Good to be here. Been a while. When we used to have a Monday night Bible study, I remember the most amazing story from Don's wife, Linda, where she was just, and I don't remember most of this, so I'll probably mess it up a little bit, but the most important thing is about love. And I was experiencing how to love Jesus and how he's all about love. And Linda's explaining that she's on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and her son, who is a skinhead, just totally out of control young man, and I don't remember all the details, but Oprah's asking, how did you change him? I loved him. I just loved him to death. And that has stuck with me. I'll never forget that. Totally amazing.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to put a Bible passage on the screen. And I've thought about how maybe the best way to close down would be reading God's Word together. I hope you know that it's always been important to me to preach out of the Bible and to every week make sure that in some way we lifted up Jesus here at City Sanctuary. I think it's Christ and Christ alone that has enabled us to love and accept each other and respect each other all through the years. I have so many stories floating in my head, and I thought, well, I could go on, but the truth is that I am not the same man I was when we started. And I think I've become a better man. I think it had a lot to do with the acts of service. I think it had a lot to do with aging and maturing and growing up. I think there's something about working in the city that takes off some of your edges. And I believe that I was given the opportunity to lead a group of wonderful, wonderful, diverse people. And I thank you and I love all of you. I hope you know that in some small way over the years that I was able to communicate that to you, that you are of tremendous value and that you're very, very important and special. And Don says, yes, we are, and God knows I had to learn how to preach with him in the audience. I picked Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2. If you ever lose your way, go to Philippians chapter 2. And we'll read the first 11 verses, and then we'll have some music play. We have a celebration cake. And thank you, Lisa Blake, for making the cake. I still remember when you did the cookie decoration party and all the great parties that we had, and how Bill led us in all these crazy games that we played, and good memories. It just goes on and on. I want to share one last thing before we read this on a deeply spiritual note. Beth, your mother, grandmother, Beth Walker, she was dying, and Sherry was there, and I got there, and then Tom came, and we decided to pray. And she's right there at death's door, and so we gathered around, and Tom began to pray, and he talked about how she would see Jesus again and how wonderful it would be. And while he was praying that, she died. In that holy moment, that sacred moment, the last thing she heard was about seeing Jesus again, and she stopped breathing. And I was thinking, that's something that God will allow certain times to happen in our lives. These moments when he allows you to be a part of something much greater than yourself. And I'm looking forward to seeing your mother again. She's going to be very happy in heaven. Very happy. But I just thought, if you're going to die with someone praying out loud about Jesus. What a wonderful way to go if you have to. Let's read this together. Christ encourages you, and his love comforts you. God's Spirit, and you are concerned for others. Now make me completely happy. Live in harmony by showing love for each other. Be united in what you think, as if you were only one person. Don't be jealous or proud, but be humble and consider others more important than yourselves. Care about them as much as you care about yourselves. And think the same way that Christ Jesus thought. Christ was truly God, but he did not try to remain equal with God. Instead, he gave up everything and became a slave when he became like one of us. Christ was humble, he obeyed God, and even died on a cross. Then God gave Christ the highest place and honored his name above all others, so that the name of Jesus, everyone will bow down, those in heaven, on earth, and under the earth, and to the glory of God the Father, everyone will openly agree that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel.
Hither, page, and stand by me, if thou know'st it, telling yonder peasant, who is he, and where and what his dwelling?
Sir, he lives a goodly hence, underneath the mountain, right up against the forest fence, by St. Agnes fountain.
You gotta bring me flesh, and bring me wine, and bring me pine logs hither, and thou and I shall see him dine, when we bear them thither.
Page and monarch, forth they went together, through the rude wind's wild lament, and the bitter weather. Sire, the night is darker now, and the wind blows stronger, fills my heart, I don't know how, I can go no longer.
Mark my footsteps, good my page, and tread thou in them boldly. Thou shalt find the winter's rage, freeze thy blood less coldly.
In his master's steps she trod, where the snow lay dinted. He was in the very sod, which the saint had printed. Therefore, Christian men, be sure, wealth or rank possessing, he who now will bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessing. Therefore, Christian man, be sure, wealth or rank possessing, ye who now will bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessing.
Sleep.